Terrans are an arrogant race. Our first attempt to contact them was relatively successful. The Terran leaders and common folk outwardly expressed their utmost surprise at the Alliance's diplomatic fleet landing in the Terran capital of New Washington, and our attempts at diplomacy were by all economic means successful. However, the Alliance's many species felt insulted by the Terrans' outright refusal of admission into the Alliance. The Terrans were, after all, the Alliance's first discovery of intelligent life outside of our home galaxy of Tshirt, so their rejection was an unwelcome surprise, painting their race as arrogant and unwelcoming. Despite the Terran leaders' offers to economically cooperate with the Alliance in the form of intergalactic trade, their rejection still stung deeply in the eyes of our galaxy's many inhabitants. Throughout the first Terran months of economic cooperation, the interactions between the Alliance and the Terran Union began to reveal Terra to be home to perhaps the most pompous species in the entire universe. Their heads were filled with the idea that they were the personal creations of a higher power, that they alone were modelled after this mysterious deity. They believed themselves superior to every Alliance species in every and any way possible. Terran arrogance knew no bounds. We of the Alliance had many theories on just why exactly the Terrans considered themselves to be better than all else. The running answer always seemed to lay with the fact that Terra seemed to be home to its galaxy's only natively inhabited planet. We found evidence of Terran colonies throughout its entire galaxy, which they had oddly dubbed the Milky Way, but beyond that was zero evidence that any previous civilizations had originated beyond the Terran home planet. Because of this, the Alliance concluded that Terran arrogance stemmed from their many years of solitude in their galaxy. We believe that because they thought of themselves alone for so many millennia, their sense of self-importance had been overinflated to unimaginable proportions. We were wrong. Terran colonies were littered throughout the Milky Way, and due to Terra's own placement within its galaxy, the Alliance was able to supply these colonies with necessary materials more efficiently than Terra herself. Supply drops to these colonies became a common routine for the Alliance, and allowed us to further explore the Milky Way. However, the Terran Union made it clear that our supply drops to these colonies would be no more than that, a supply drop. The Alliance, under no circumstance, was to let their pilots off of their ships. They restricted our influence to the designated drop-off zones, not allowing us to stay or explore the Terran colonies, which was an outright shame. I call it a shame because each of the Terran colonies was unique to the planet it was situated on. Utterly different to the standard cookie-cutter architecture that the Alliance adopted for its own colonies. The Terran's own colonies seemed to be distinctly catered to their planet's unique environment, and lasted eons longer than our own. It was almost as if the same Terrans who built these colonies had lived, evolved, and adapted to defend against these specific conditions on each Milky Way planet. The horror in our heart when we found out just how close to the truth we had been. It was a supply pilot who notified us. A supply pilot that started the chain. The Tshirt pilot has scheduled a weekly Alliance supply drop at the Terran colony on the planet of Acheron. What should have been a standard drop-off turned into a long string of delays, as the transport vessel needed repairs due to a small asteroid belt strike. The Tshirt was advised by the Terran to stay overnight in his ship, due to the number of repairs the transport vessel required. In what he described as simply natural curiosity, the Tshirt pilot, unbeknownst to any of the Terran colonists, decided to exit his supply ship and explore the colony. An excerpt from his official statement can be read below. I used a shawl to hide. It was really just an impulse. I mean, any other day I wouldn't have done it. I'm a Tshirt. Everyone knows we look identical to humans besides our hair, so I thought I could pull it off. I wouldn't have gone if I knew what I'd hear there. This Terran, he was on something and started talking to me. I couldn't exactly understand him since my basic Terran is only passable at moments, and he was slurring his words, but he told me something the Terrans haven't told us themselves. This Terran started bragging to me about the colony. At first it was normal, the usual Terran crap about species superiority and how they were chosen for this mission. I thought it best to ask him what mission. He answered with one word: eradication. Asking him what he meant was interesting, because he must have been drunk enough not to understand what I was asking him. Instead, he started talking to himself about some planetary divine intervention in the name of their creator. When I asked him to explain, he simply told me, and I quote, "Look around and ask yourself, who was here before us? We sure as fuck didn't build this godforsaken colony ourselves." End excerpt. After his official hearing, the Alliance began to conduct countless investigations into the numerous colonies that the Terran Union controlled. Following in the Klutre's footsteps, the Alliance began to periodically send intentionally damaged ships to the supply drops, forcing the Terran colonies to keep the Alliance supply vessels docked longer in order to repair them. This extended period of time at the colonies allowed the Alliance to send in specially trained Klutre spies. A grand total of 8 spies were sent to 8 different colonies, with the goal of uncovering the mysterious builders of these colonies. One by one, the Alliance received their answers. The Terran colonies weren't Terran built, which could only mean one thing: Terra was never alone in this galaxy. Desperate for more information, the Alliance extended each of their spy stays in the colonies. One by one, each spy made a horrifying discovery. Within each colony were various signs pointing to a civilization predating the Terran's presence on the planet. Whether it was a distinct architectural design, uncovered artwork long buried in the ground, or lost literature found again, each spy uncovered evidence of a prior species residing on the planet. With each piece of evidence found, the Alliance began to piece together a common factor found on all 8 planets: a depiction of gods raining fire from the sky. I distinctly remember the artwork found in tunnels below the Acheron colony, depicting a large space vessel clad with the symbol of the Terran Union, raising a planet to uninhabitable ash and dust. Our theory was wrong. We finally had the answer to Terran arrogance. Terra was never alone in this galaxy. The Milky Way was once a galaxy teeming with intelligent life. 128 colonies, 128 civilizations, 128 genocides. It was then we discovered the Terran mission, a belief that they had followed for nearly 2 millennia. Their blind belief in a creator led them to believe that they were the sole inheritors of not only Terra, but their solar system, galaxy, and the universe itself. This religious fervor led to an arrogance so high that their only option was to destroy and colonize entire planetary civilizations in the name of a divine mission. The remnants of this Terran crusade can be seen all over the Milky Way. The oxidized crust of Mars, which was the outcome of a Terran weapons test. The Jovian moon of Europa, once an ocean teeming with life, was now a frozen wasteland due to Terran interference. The fortifications of Acheron, once a vast and influential civilization, reduced to a simple trading colony. Terra is a war machine, the likes of which the Alliance has never come across before. Our only hope is that they never turn their blade onto us.